Welcome back to another episode of the KarterKast. I'm your host, Karter Baughan. With me, Dylan, as always. No Ben, no Connor. We're doing this right now. We're recording before the Sunday Night Football game. We want to get this out to you very quickly, so we had to do it before the Sunday Night Football game because some of us have to live on the East Coast, Dylan.
Yeah, that's so we actually, personal moment, I had a bunch of friends over today, and I made food. Abby made queso. The queso was so amazing. Barbecue chicken, shredded sliders. So it was like, you know what? Let's get it done early. I can relax with my wife and all that stuff. And before we get started, I have to say this. My buddy Matt, I don't know if you remember FedEx and the apartment guy from last year.
Yep.
He was one of the guys that came over, big Bears fan, and I have to publicly apologize because I thought the Titans were going to take care of the Bears. And I'm going to publicly apologize to Matt. I'm sorry I thought the Titans were going to win. Pause. Give me 5 seconds. Pause. They shouldn't have won the game. That offense is so bad. So bad. And that's something, if you want the Texans, go bet them. No one is going to be betting the Bears next week. Go bet the Texans. And we could use that as a segue or whatever, but holy crap. They didn't score an offensive touchdown.
I would use that as a segue, but we have some other things to get to. First, SeatGeek. Download the SeatGeek app or go to SeatGeek.com. Use code KarterKast, $20 off your first purchase. $50 minimum purchase required. Terms and conditions apply. Use code KarterKast, KarterKast at SeatGeek.com or download the SeatGeek app today. Use code KarterKast, $20 off first purchase. Before we no SeatGeek moment today. We got to roll right into things.
All right.
The people are waiting. Half the reason people are tuning into this thing is to hear,
Probably.
Where's this clown? Where's this guy Dylan? Where's this guy? You know what? The funniest part is Connor, Ben, and I are sitting here like, yeah, NC State's going to win. Meanwhile, they get dog-walked, boat raced against Tennessee. Mm-hmm. Maybe a few people are like, you idiots, whatever, start a podcast. Man, Dylan, there's a lot of people wondering where you were, and we were live
the whole time. We were literally right there as it developed in real time. And where's this guy at, buddy? I'm right in front of your eyes.
We were literally, if you wanted to ask him a question, tell him, hey, what's your reaction? We did it live. We had the live stream, great live stream, over 8,000 on Twitter. I think 400 on YouTube right now. Great. Thank you to everybody that came in and tuned in. Thank you to everyone who was in the comments and was chatting with us on the show. That was a ton of fun. Thank you to everyone who did that. But also, Dylan, this is your chance. Do you want to make an apology?
Do I want to make an apology? I don't know. I'm not sure what I would apologize for. What would I apologize for? Being wrong?
You said for being very wrong.
But let's be honest, Carter. If everybody apologized for being very wrong, First Take would just be a half hour of apologies every time.
Maybe it should be. Maybe it'd be a little bit more honest and more genuine show.
And that's fair. That's a conversation that I'm willing to have. Here's what I will say. I was wrong about Michigan.
No.
Yes, I was very wrong about Michigan. Very wrong about Michigan. I thought this defense. No, I was not. I don't think I was wrong about Texas. I never once said that Texas was a bad team. And a lot of people are in the comments. They're saying, this guy, what do you think about Quinn Ewers now? Quinn Ewers is a Heisman candidate. We went in there and we put belt to you know what. And I'm like, dude, if you watch the game, Texas didn't go light it up. It wasn't your athletes running down the field 40, 50-yard completions. We're a bad team.
Whoa! They were lighting it up. Quinn Ewers had 200 yards passing by halftime. They were up 24-3. And it honestly should have been worse at halftime.
How many of those throws were over 10 yards in the air?
Why does it matter? He made the right plays. He made the right passes. It doesn't matter. And go ahead, go.
No, it's okay. No, go ahead, Carter. You were right about this game.
The mic's right here. The mic's right here. Go ahead.
What I'm getting at is I said Quinn Ewers last season, right? He was 12th, 15th best quarterback. You had plenty of quarterbacks above him. Penix was above him. Bo Nix was above him. J.J. McCarthy was above him. And then obviously guys that are not in the Jaden Daniels was above him. Jalen Milroe was above him. So I think people are taking that and like, oh, Dylan thinks that Quinn Ewers is a bad quarterback. I never once said that. If you told me that we could have Quinn Ewers right now at Michigan, yes, I'm all in. This is what people are not going to like to hear, right? Davis Warren played awful, right?
Yep.
Quinn Ewers had 3 points better PFF rating than Davis Warren this game.
No,
3. He was 3 points more efficient.
It doesn't matter. What was his PFF at halftime? Because the game was done and dusted at halftime. Quinn Ewers didn't even have to play the second half. He played so well in the first half. It didn't matter. He had 200 yards passing in the first half. He didn't have to do anything in the second half because Michigan had no chance at scoring.
You do know that Quinn Ewers not playing doesn't hurt his rating, right? Him not playing doesn't mean it hurts him. It just means it doesn't add anything. It doesn't give him a chance to improve it or make it worse. Listen, Karter.
But the thing is that, okay, if it ends at 200, it's different if he continues that trend because he needs to. So let's say he has 200 yards in the first half and they're up 30. He doesn't need to throw for much more, so he's not going to be able to add to it. If he still needs to throw and it's a close game, he's going to end up with 350, 400 passing yards. That's the flaw with those stats.
But he also can't make it worse. Like, I think that
it
doesn't add or take anything away.
If you only play one half of football, your PFF isn't going to look great.
That's not true. It's rate based. It's not you throw more. It's the efficiency of the actual passes you make. And that brings me to another point I want to get to. This is NFL. Listen, here's what I apologize for. I'm wrong about Michigan. I didn't leave this game thinking more of Texas. I left thinking a lot less of Michigan. I didn't leave this game thinking more of Quinn Ewers as a quarterback. I thought less of Davis Warren. Another interesting tidbit, Quinn Ewers and Davis Warren, both no turnover worthy plays this game.
What are we doing here?
So, I'm just stating facts.
You watched the game.
And I watched the game. He did not look good. Quinn Ewers did not have one big throw that I was like, oh my gosh, this guy could win the Heisman. Oh my gosh, that was an explosive play. And that's not a bad thing. I'm not saying that you have guys at Coastal Carolina and Jacksonville State and Texas State that are better than Quinn Ewers. What I'm saying is all of these people that are saying, oh, Dylan, what? You don't know ball. You must not watch football. What do you think about Quinn Ewers now? I think the exact same thing that I thought a week ago. Nothing has changed. He did not show me anything to change that. He's still 10th best quarterback in college football, and that's fine. Be content with that, Texas. Be content.
I would go top 5, but that's a college football. That's a college football conversation.
Real quick, if we spend 10 minutes me apologizing to these buffoons down in Texas, then I want you to list your top 5 quarterbacks in college football.
Okay, not in order. Carson Beck, Quinn Ewers, Cam Ward, Jackson Dart, and I'm trying to do this off the top of my head, so this is difficult. Nobody in the ACC, SEC.
Dylan Gabriel.
No. I would take Quinn Ewers.
And then your list is
invalid. No.
Your list isn't valid.
Oh, that's so Dylan. Quinn Ewers is so much better than Dylan Gabriel. You are not staying up to watching West Coast football. Quinn Ewers is so much better than Dylan Gabriel. Dylan Gabriel has great box scores. Oh my goodness, Dylan. No, Quinn Ewers.
You could argue Blake Shapen's better. You could argue Miller Moss is better.
Stop this.
You could argue Taylor Green is better.
You're
right
doing
now,
this for the clip. You're doing this for the clip.
You could argue Kyle McCord is a better passer.
Oh,
you could
stop
argue
this.
That,
You're doing
you could
this for
argue
the
that
clip.
Anthony Calandria is a better quarterback than Quinn Ewers
don't
this
even.
year, with 2 games.
Don't do this.
You could.
Don't do this. Stop.
I'm just saying you could. And again, this is not me doubling down on the take that I had last week. I'm not. Michigan is bad. We are now staring down the barrel. I would say now 8-4. We probably lose to USC, and I wouldn't be surprised if we lose another game in the mix. But that's fine. What people forget, and this is honest. This is what people forget.
If you're listening right now, we're getting top-notch viewership. Oh, I guess
not everybody has the privilege to win 2 national championships in 1 year. Michigan football, Tennessee baseball. And the fact is, until January, whatever comes around, Michigan is the national champions. We'll live it. We'll say it for the rest of eternity. And that's just the brutal reality that we live in for Ohio State fans, for Texas fans. Mm-hmm. It's just what it is, Karter.
All right.
So we're gonna be bad this year. We'll move on, right? And I'm gonna go one more thing. Everybody's saying that, oh, this proves that Connor Stalions actually mattered. What about the 8 games we played before this where he wasn't with us?
Yeah, that's blown out of proportion.
It's a scapegoat. It's low IQ individuals that don't have anything to say about Michigan's national championship.
The 2 biggest problems I have with Michigan, and this will be the last thing we do because this is an NFL show, but we had to address this. One is they clearly are making Sharon Moore the fall guy. That's what it really feels like. And I feel bad for him in that spot. I mean, he doesn't even have a real contract, for crying out loud. And also, they didn't recruit well at all. They gave that the recruiting was that should have been the telltale sign that Harbaugh was not staying.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, it's not, like I said, it's not great here. And that is something, I'll be honest, the fact that we did the live stream and the live stream did so well made that loss so much more bearable. Like 9,000 views. I left that feeling almost giddy, and Michigan lost. I was like, yes, content, guys.
All right. Well, in similar vein, you're talking about national champions and how awesome that is. Let's go to the complete opposite side of the spectrum, Dylan. Typically, we should be starting the show off talking about Mahomes, the Cowboys. The Cowboys look great today against the Browns. Chiefs, look great on Thursday. Eagles, big win in Brazil. The Packers, all that stuff. You want to start off with your bad quarterback or my bad quarterback? For new people listening to the show right now, I'm a huge diehard Carolina Panthers fan. Bryce Young truther. Dylan is a diehard Titans fan. Will Levis truther. Rough day for us.
Yeah, I'm not ready to say bad quarterback. I am ready to say really dumb decisions. And I don't think that we're going to see I understand NFL show. I'm sorry to make this comparison, but we're going to see Cam Ward make dumb decisions. He is a good quarterback. Should Tennessee have lost this game? No. There were mistakes left. There's mistakes left and right. There were interceptions that, they shouldn't even have been pass attempts. Will Levis just kind of throwing the ball to the side to get an incompletion. It's just mistakes that I don't think are going to last for the whole season. So that's, like I said, if you like Houston, if you like the Texans, I'd take them now. No one's going to rush to bet the Bears if they actually look into the numbers. And if you like Tennessee, I think that keep an eye on that. I think you'll get a good number on that because the loss is going to say one thing. You'll see Will Levis 127 passing yards. That's not indicative of how the game went. Chicago, I don't think, had an offensive touchdown. No, they didn't.
No.
So that tells you what you need to know. I'm not too worried about the Titans right now.
Well,
what about Panthers? Ooh, I saw an awesome video of it. It was like what the Saints are doing to Bryce Young, and it was this guy taking this guy's head and mixing a DJ board like he was working a wedding. Oh, it was awesome. It was bad.
We desperately need a better help sponsorship for this podcast for this season. This is game 1 of the Carolina Panthers, Dylan. This is game 1. I am in shambles. When that game started, I come home from church. I walk in, get the TV on, ready to roll. I got other Panther fans here. Within 2 minutes, we're like, well, so are we canceling our trip to Denver to go see the Panthers play?
That bad.
It was that bad.
I'm sorry.
Look, I'll try and be brief about this too, because I know people don't want to hear us talk totally about the Panthers and whatnot. But as someone who is a Bryce Young truther and said all this crap in the offseason that, okay, with a better offensive line and Dave Canales, he'll be fine. My only saving grace is that it's game 1 under a new head coach, and they played one series in the preseason. That's the only thing I can go off of. Maybe it'll get better throughout the season, but it's not. It's not. And I was so disappointed in Bryce Young today, and I worry that last season hurt his confidence so much that he has no chance to come back from it. Kind of like what the Jets did to Zach Wilson his rookie season, where it was so dysfunctional everywhere around him. There was no chance for success. And after that, since his confidence was so shot, there was no chance he was going to be able to come back from that. I'm not fully out on Bryce Young. I'm not going to say that, but it's a tough path to see him going forward. It's tough to see him be successful. And I know this is a week 1 overreaction. It is. It's too much of an overreaction, sure. I think Dave Canales can be a fine head coach, but he was missing throws he doesn't normally miss. His big thing was, okay, he can make the off balance on the move throw. He missed so many today, so many throws like that today. I am extremely disappointed in Bryce Young, and we've had different quarterbacks in Carolina. We've had different head coaches in Carolina. We've had different everything in Carolina. The only thing that hasn't been different in the last 7-8 years is ownership. Dave Tepper is the problem still, and I don't think anything changes if he's still there. Yeah, you can say talent, coaches, whatever. I mean, it all comes to who's running the show.
I understand. I want to jump on that real quick. I just want to shout out Connor can't be on the show today. Just got an action notification that he's bet the Colts -2.5 next week. I don't know who they play, but
Packers
that might be
with no Jordan Love, Malik Wilson.
I saw they're in talks to get Tannehill.
Oh, that would be scary. That would be scary.
either way, I did not get to watch the Panthers game, and that's I'm gonna address it right now. There's a lot of games on. I'm one guy. I can't watch all the games at once.
You didn't miss anything. It was a Derek Carr masterclass. And you know what the most scary part was? Was not even Bryce missing throws or him getting sacked a bunch. It wasn't even that. Kamara was running all over this defense. This was supposed to be the worst offensive line in football this season, and the Saints were manhandling the Panthers. It looked like Alabama versus Furman today. That's how bad it was. Disaster class for the Panthers.
So it sounds like you are crediting some of this as issues with Bryce Young. There is nothing else.
Bryce was bad today. We're not. There's not excuses. There was no excuses today. There was times he had time in the pocket. His first throw, he had time in the pocket. He overthrew it and threw it straight into Saints defender's hands. He was bad today. There's no two ways around it.
Okay.
No excuses for Bryce. He was terrible.
Is there any? I love it when I'm not a big Bryce Young guy. Never was. Some would say, "Oh, Dylan, you might be right." I definitely would not say that, and the haters won't say that either. But
I hate you.
Is there any credence to the Saints? Do have a pretty good defense, even though their offense is bad. Their defense isn't that bad. Is there maybe like, okay, maybe it's just having to play a tough defense week 1. We'll see if it works out later, like down the road, week 2, week 3.
And I think sure. I think we'll see how it goes throughout the season. Like I'll give it till halfway through the season. When we get to week 8, 9 in that Broncos game, if things haven't really changed much or drastically improved, then we're going to have some real talks over here about Andy Dalton being the starting quarterback of the Carolina Panthers.
Really?
If it's not good by the end of October, if it hasn't drastically improved by then, we have some serious talks to have. But I also think that, Saints fans were making fun of us. Bucks fans are making fun of us for their big win today. Credit to them. I was wrong about the Saints. I certainly was. When you look into the season and it looked like a lame duck head coach, and yeah, they're playing a bad Panthers team. I think it was a mix of both. I think I undervalued the Saints and I overvalued the Panthers going into this one for sure.
Okay, that's fair. And that's the thing. Week 1, a lot of stuff to figure out. So you can't draw. That's why when the Titans lost, I was like, I mean, come on. We'll figure things out.
The Titans one was silly, though, because Will Levis, it was so preventable, and the Bears were so bad. I watched...
Caleb Williams was not good. I'm going to need credit for that.
I was going to say, I watched 3/4 of that Bears-Titans game, the last second through fourth quarter. Caleb Williams was terrible.
He was missing throws. He was missing throws.
Him and Bryce Young had the exact same game today.
Really?
Bryce may have actually played a little bit better than Caleb Williams today, but Caleb Williams got bailed out by Will Levis today. It's really what it came down to in the special teams.
Sure. Yeah, that's 100% correct. I can't wait to go back and watch this Bryce Young film. It seemed like there's bad quarterback play just across the board today.
And that's what I wanted to bring up. This is some of the worst as a debut Sunday in the NFL, I don't know if I've ever seen worse quarterback play in one day. It was horrendous across the board. Justin Fields even won today. He didn't do anything. Kirk Cousins was horrendous. He was rusty as all get out. Then Bryce Young, he had a rough day. Caleb Williams won with 92 yards passing and missing throws left and right. Will Levis throws the dumbest pick six I've ever seen in my life. And then you keep going down the list. Joe Burrow played terrible. Daniel Jones, I mean, who knows if he'll be alive by the end of the season. And then, Bucks, Bills, Cardinals, both those quarterbacks played well in that game. And then Raiders, Chargers, I didn't expect much out of those games. Bo Nix was awful today, even though shout out the
He was so bad.
He was horrendous. And Deshaun Watson, holy smokes, dude. I know that Cowboys defense is fantastic, but Deshaun was just bad.
You have to at least sit down and have a conversation about Jameis at some point. I think the problem with I think the problem with Cleveland's going to be they've paid him so much guaranteed money. It's like a sunk cost, and it's like, well, we can't move on from him because we've spent so like he is going to get a longer leash than any other quarterback just because of the contract that he got. And it's an unfortunate situation. And the Cowboys absolutely rolled. Dak looked good. Josh Allen, one guy that had a good day, 4 total touchdowns, 2 rushing,
and he
lost fumble.
And not just that, like he looked great. He put that team on his shoulders today.
And that's like,
shoulders.
We're going to have this conversation. Like Josh Allen is always the one that kind of seems to fall by the wayside. Like it's Mahomes, it's Lamar, sometimes Burrow if he's healthy. And then it's like Allen's still up there, but he's not that top tier. And it'll be interesting to see what we get from him the rest of the season. But he put the team on his back and he said, let's go win a game. And that, that's awesome.
Staying in that same game, the Cardinals, they're a fun team this year, man. They're going to upset a lot of teams. If they're a 8, 9, 10-point spread for some reason in a game, I would love taking them because their offense alone is going to keep them in these games. They are an electric league pass team. They're going to be a classic red zone team all season.
Yeah, and a couple things I want to point out from that one. James Conner with a 20-yard rush, 50 total yards. I don't know how old this guy is. I feel like I've been watching him forever. And the fact that he just still keeps doing it as he had the most carries. So he's the workhorse back for the Cardinals. Kyler, 1 passing touchdown, 5 carries, 57 yards. Like he got it done. An average showing from him. But yeah, I think you're right. They're going to be a team that's really fun, and you're going to see them on red zone all the time.
Yeah, with the Cardinals there, few quarterbacks that were freaking fun today. Sam Darnold, I can't remember who said, and like I'm not even being funny. It might have been me that said this. Sam Darnold is going to be interesting to watch with actual weapons and an actually decent. I think we all said that. Line. Mentioned like this is the first time he's been put in a great situation to succeed,
and it doesn't. It helps his case that he got to play the Giants, who, if we're keeping track, have not had a passing touchdown since the preseason started.
Can I ask you something?
Yeah.
How much do you think the quarterback situation matters versus the talent? Because we see guys like Jared Goff and even Sam Darnold. I know it's only been week 1. Brock Purdy. These guys are so successful in these great systems, but then you see other guys like, I'm trying to think of a good example on the spot. That's very talented. Help me out here.
Talent in bad situations?
Talent in bad situations.
Bryce Young last year?
Bryce, yeah, I feel like Bryce is. There's still a lot to prove there.
That's tough. I guess maybe you don't hear about it because they don't play a lot.
They just don't make it. Yeah, maybe so. Maybe bad question by me. Maybe we cut that out. But I just feel like you look at these situations. It's like we always make this thing. People always say this in the NBA. It's any guy, any guard in the NBA can give you 20 on a given night. They're that good. They're that talented. Is that almost the case with these quarterbacks? Could anybody fill into Jared Goff's spot and be fairly serviceable because everything around him is so well run?
Because I think it's kind of almost a situation to where if you don't look to make excuses for quarterbacks that are performing well. It's almost like a prophecy, like a self-fulfilling prophecy. So Sam Darnold in this situation, 208 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception. If he is playing well, if your team is winning games, there's no reason to look for excuses. But when you have a quarterback that isn't performing well, even if he's talented, you are looking like it's a matter of if you're looking for the excuse or not. And Sam Darnold is a guy, I remember 2017 Rose Bowl against Ohio State. He was just slinging the ball around the field, a huge arm. And I was like, wow, this guy's actually kind of impressive. And then he goes to the Jets and Panthers, and he goes 49ers, he goes to Jets, all not great situations and never really has success. And this Minnesota
49ers didn't have a chance, but
yeah. But this situation here, it's a little bit different. You have Justin Jefferson, you have Jordan Addison, who's a great number 2. It's different, and it's exciting to see what he can do when he has those. I'm sure it makes the situation better, but if you're looking for an excuse, you can find an excuse. I think we all know that just being in this sports media
talking about
world.
Sports, yeah.
Yeah.
Because the other thing, I think a great example of that is Lamar on Thursday night, because you can say, oh, Lamar missed a lot of throws. He missed that big one to Zay Flowers at the end and whatnot. Oh, Lamar, if he would have made that throw, it wouldn't have mattered. But Lamar was getting swarmed that game. Without Lamar Jackson, the Ravens lose that game by 3-4 touchdowns. He was so fantastic in that game, and he elevated them so much. Imagine putting Sam Darnold on that Ravens team last Thursday night against the Chiefs. It's a 20-plus point. It's a blowout. Blowout.
The Chiefs?
The Chiefs win by a blowout.
Okay. Yeah, and I think that's fair. It's something we're going to have to monitor, definitely. It's just you get these guys that are in better systems, and it's like, okay, maybe. I mean, a rising, what is it? A rising tide rises all ships or something like that. I don't even know what the saying is, but we'll act like I said something deep there.
Too? Another one,
please.
Which situation is worse in your mind, the New York Giants or the Carolina Panthers?
That's tough because the Giants, you have neighbors. That's at least something to get excited about.
Bryce Young is still unknown. I know this is only week one into his second year, so there's still a lot unknown. Daniel Jones is fairly known that it's not going to work out there in New York.
You have a really bad offensive line in New York. I would probably take the
great
Panthers.
Though.
Yeah, I mean that's fair. Got to Sam once today. I would say I would want the Panthers situation probably offensively.
I would lean towards the Panthers just because the unknown of Bryce Young still. That's the saving grace right there. Besides that, it's both just terrible circumstances.
Yeah.
Talking about some other games, Jags Dolphins. If you had the over in that game, you are furious because there were so many overkilling plays. And also, if you had the Jags money line in that game, there is no reason the Jaguars should have lost that game. Just silly stuff. Very similar to the Titans. AFC South specials right there.
Yeah, to an all-time empty yards game, 338 yards, 1 touchdown, compared to Trevor Lawrence's 162 yards and a touchdown. I didn't get to watch much of this game. I saw everything unfold with Tyreek beforehand, and I was like, oh, is that going to affect anything? Did you see his celebration when he scored that touchdown?
Yeah.
That was awesome. Like, that's the kind of stuff that gets people to watch. I know the league probably hates it. They cut away from it a couple times, but it's, I didn't get to watch much of this one, but I saw the Jaguars didn't even score in the second half, and that's definitely worrisome if you can't turn it on when it matters.
Colts Texans, Anthony Richardson was electric. I'm very upset that Connor and Ben aren't on here because I know they didn't win the game. I know they lost 29-27 to the Texans. I watched the full game. He was dynamite today. Dynamite. He might be the most fun player to watch play football in this league right now. It was so fun. And maybe he just got lucky today because Alec Pierce was making some beautiful catches. He would close his eyes while he's getting sacked and chuck it 80 yards downfield. It was phenomenal. He willed his way into that last touchdown. Shout out Anthony Richardson, anytime touchdown. That I was impressed with the Colts. I was really impressed with both teams today. The defenses may have been, light. Maybe they're not great defenses, but I was really impressed with both teams today.
Yeah, Joe Mixon, great showing in his first one with Houston. 30 carries, almost 160 yards and a touchdown. C.J. Stroud looked great, pretty efficient, 234 and 2 touchdowns. And then Richardson didn't throw the ball a whole lot. 19 pass attempts, but got it done on the ground.
But 19
really
pass attempts, how many got completed?
9.
And how many yards did he have?
212. And Alec Pierce, 3 receptions, 125 yards.
That's what I'm saying.
What a stat line we have right there.
He would just close his eyes, chuck it, and be like, Alec Pierce down there somewhere.
It's like playing jackpot in the schoolyard.
Literally,
jackpot,
that's what it was.
Catch. Yeah, jackpot pickup.
Sticky glue.
Glue, yeah.
Steelers-Falcons. Steelers won 18-10. Wow, man. I mean, I know you were high on the Steelers. Russell Wilson didn't get to play today.
And the Falcons.
And we were high, we were all high on the Falcons. Kirk, I will leave this up to Kirk being rusty. That's what if you're a Falcons fan, you're like, okay, Kirk just needs to get his feet wet after a major injury late into his career. But it was brutal. There's a chance the Falcons start 0-3, and we're going to get a great price on the Falcons to win this division, Dylan.
That's possible. I will say my takeaway from this game, obviously Justin Fields plays for Pittsburgh, doesn't do anything amazing. 57 yards on the ground, I guess, 156 passing yards. With the Falcons, I think I'm going to chalk this up to Pittsburgh's defense. I think that's how I'm going to cope with this.
It was swarming today. It was great. But Kirk, I would say Pittsburgh defense was great. I think it's both things. Kirk missed a lot of throws today, and some of those interceptions were just inexcusable. Terrible throws. And that's what I'm saying, man. You look at these quarterbacks today. Honestly, Sam Darnold, Derek Carr, Dak was pretty freaking good today. And then Baker, probably and Josh Allen. Forgot about Josh Allen.
Yeah.
Top 5 quarterbacks today.
Yeah, really that's a list right there.
Put it out. Put the graphic out. And
top 5 quarterbacks from September 8th.
Raiders Chargers. This one was a snooze fest. That one stunk, but that was a John Harbaugh classic. Jim Harbaugh. Come
on now. National champion Jim Harbaugh.
I was reading the Ravens thing earlier. Sorry.
J.K. Dobbins, resurrection. 10 carries, 135 yards, and a touchdown. It's good to see. He's an Ohio State guy, but it's good to see someone. I mean, he's had 2 huge injuries to come back and have success. Justin Herbert didn't look great, 144 yards, and Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew was not that either. It's
rough there.
But Chargers 1-0. I think we were all pretty high on the Chargers train.
Yeah, they're going to sneak their way into 9-10 wins because they play Carolina next week. They're only a 4-point favorite against Carolina, maybe 4.5 now by this point. It's going to be
fishy.
6. That's going to be 6. If it's not 6, Carolina's winning that game because Vegas is having some magic voodoo going on behind the scenes. Because there is, I've watched every down of Panther football for the last decade. There is no way the Panthers win that game next Sunday. But maybe a game in Charlotte helps. You know how electric it gets down there in Charlotte, Bank of America.
Oh yeah, you got to bump it up.
Broncos Seahawks. Bo Nix was really bad today. I came away from this game. Both teams are terrible.
I don't know. I was impressed with Seattle's tackling in the open field, and that is something we have not seen from the Seahawks in a long time. And I think we can credit that to Mike McDonald. That's kind of where I'm attributing that success to. And that would mean that is something that we are going to see for the rest of the season. And this Seattle defense has always been the issue. It has very rarely been the offense the last couple of years.
What frustrated me though was they had this game in the bag, and they still couldn't close the door when Bo Nix was having one of the worst quarterback performances I've ever seen. Because if you look at the score, you're like, oh, Bo Nix wasn't that bad. They covered the spread. They're not that bad. Watching the game, you watched the game. We were texting. We had the Broncos in the KarterKast parlay. We're waiting for the Rams right now.
Yeah, just about to kick off.
Yuck.
It's the last touchdown that the Broncos scored to cover or push, depending on the number you got. I've never played football. That's gonna light everybody on fire. But I would have to think that there's some element of the Seahawks defense saying, Kenneth Walker is getting 7 yards a carry right now. Like, we don't have to press these guys for this last touchdown because if we get the ball, we're going to be able to run out the clock, and it's not really going to matter. And I'm sure teams aren't looking at it like, we can let up, but it's like, you don't have to go full
human
out.
Nature.
Yeah,
thinking from a human nature's perspective. But yeah, Seahawks, I mean,
I leave this being lower on Bo Nix and the Broncos, but I honestly am higher on the Seahawks too. They impressed me today with their defense. I didn't think that it would be this quick of a turnaround.
I have a dumb statement, and this is not going to make sense, but I'm higher on Sean Payton, and I'm very low on Bo Nix because the fact that this was still a game is insane, despite how bad Bo Nix was.
That's fair. I didn't think about it that way. I think that's, Bo Nix was really bad, and the fact they were able to keep it in. Someone's going to have to get him an IV or something shot into his shoulder. 42 pass attempts. That thing's going to fall off if he keeps that up by the end of the year.
And he was getting hit.
Oh, yeah. He was getting they got to him, which was the Broncos had a decent offensive line last year, so I'm a little surprised that they got to him that easy.
A couple more games to talk about. Commanders, Bucks. Bucks 37-20. Jaden Daniels looked fun. His rushing ability is phenomenal. But I almost think after this game, he's going to be like, well, I can run the ball. He is going to get hurt, Dylan.
And we talked about this.
If he keeps running like this?
Yeah, we talked about this in the preview. You told us to go look at some of his hit compilations from LSU, and, I mean, he takes hits all the time. It's not going to be good for him. I will say this was KarterKast nap game of the week I did not watch.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
KarterKast nap game of the week.
Baker and the Bucks had this one cooked from the start. So shout out there. I mean,
Did you watch this game?
I had I watched every single game today, except I did not watch second quarter on of the Vikings Giants, and I did not watch 90% of the Patriots Bengals game, which we already did skip.
Baker's performance, 4 touchdowns, 289 yards. Did it visually impress you? Was he making tough throws?
No. Mike Evans was wide open. Chris Godwin was wide open. What I came away from that was the Commanders' defense is so bad that Jaden Daniels is going to have to take a lot of risky throws and make a lot of risky plays to keep them in games. Commanders' overs are going to be looked at a lot this season because that defense is complete Swiss cheese, which you thought would improve under Dan Quinn, which it may throughout the season. Game one, you don't want to overreact too much. And then real quick, Bengals Pats. That felt so easy. Didn't that feel so easy that the Patriots +8?
That was very easy. Any apologies for my talks about the Patriots in the AFC East preview?
Oh, no, not at all. I think the Patriots are still. I think the Patriots are still terrible, and they're going to win 4 or 5 games this season. And this is just the classic. Joe Burrow isn't good at the beginning of the season. They're going to go into Arrowhead next week and lose on a field goal or win by a field goal. It's going to be a close game in Arrowhead next week.
Okay. All right. That's interesting. Looking at Ramondre Stevenson, big day. Wow, 120 yards. It's not bad, and a touchdown.
I didn't watch a lot of the game, to be honest. I caught the beginning and the end, and then I had 6 total screens on, and then a red zone, 6 games, and then a red zone to try and catch the other 2. Let's just say red zone didn't go to that game very often.
This I'm looking at the list of players that had a reception for the Bengals. I see Jamar Chase. Not a star-studded list of names here. There's one guy I don't even know. Andre Eels, whatever it is. Tanner Hudson. I know Gesicki. Yeah, that's a little worrisome for the Bengals. If only there was someone on here that wasn't super high on them.
Browns Cowboys. Holy smokes. We put out the Deshaun Watson clip this morning. Oh, how long is Deshaun Watson's leash? We already kind of touched on it a little bit earlier talking about the quarterbacks. Coming away from this game, were you more impressed with the Cowboys or were you, wow, the Browns stink really, really bad?
I don't think Watson has it. And that's we posted the TikTok today. Like, I don't think it's there anymore. Like I said in the group chat, Russell Wilson had a better day than Watson did. And he sat on the sideline and he was talking up his teammates. Like, that is just the day that he had 45 pass attempts, which is insane. 24 completions, 169 yards, 2 interceptions. The time is running out. Like, how much time do you give this guy before you say, okay, you are not the same as you were in Houston. You were not the same since the incident that occurred or the injuries, and you cut your losses and you move on to Jameis or whoever it is. You can't, we talked about it. The problem is you're pot committed at this point. You've paid him so much guaranteed money. And it's like, if you cut him, you're out that money. Like, you just poof, goes away. I am impressed with Dallas's defense. They have looked great. They looked great last year. They were swarming today. Micah Parsons, man. The guy's just a dog. What do you want me to say?
It was 2 defensive player of the year. It was 2 defensive player of the year candidates going after it today, and Micah Parsons won that today.
Yeah. Myles Garrett got to Dak once, and it was pretty impressive, but, I mean, it was Micah Parsons the whole way. I think Dak didn't really have a good day. 179 yards and 1 touchdown. Ezekiel Elliott, he had some decent runs when it mattered.
He looked a lot better than I thought he would. I was about to say, he looked sleeker. He looked a little more mobile, especially than he did in New England. And, look, I think the Cowboys looked great today. If I was very concerned with the Browns today, I think it was a similar thing when we talk about Bryce Young, Caleb Williams today, and Deshaun Watson, where it wasn't that they were like, it was unlucky things happening. It was they were missing throws. It was a lot of overthrows, a lot of underthrows, just inaccurate passes consistently, and just poor decision making, just really poor decision making on all those quarterbacks' parts.
Yeah, really bad decision making. The one thing
one of them's almost a 10-year vet.
Yeah. The one thing I want to point out real quick, CeeDee Lamb, obviously he's such an asset because you can really throw the ball up to him and be like, hey, go get it. But he's also so valuable in that jet sweep spot where it just seems like it's good for 10 yards every single time. Let's say keep an eye out. CeeDee Lamb rushing props. I don't know what
Yeah,
the
I don't
line is
either.
normally on those, but they ran that jet sweep twice or 3 times today that I saw, and it was effective every single time.
The other game we didn't touch on, obviously Rams and Lions are going on as we're recording, so we're not going to be able to talk about that game. We can briefly touch on that in our preview along with Jets 49ers. We're not going to be able to talk about that one too much. On Friday night, Eagles Packers. That game, I don't take a lot from that game because of how ridiculous the conditions were in Brazil. I think it was both defenses are exposed a little bit as being bad, but also the field conditions were terrible. I don't think we can take much from that game, to be honest.
No, and I think the one thing, when field conditions are bad, whether there's snow on the field is slippery, you can't gather, that almost affects the defenses more because they're the ones reacting.
Yeah, when you need them to turn, yeah.
So it's hard. We can say the defenses aren't that great, but it's also like asterisk. The defense was always at a disadvantage.
Yep, absolutely. And then Chiefs Ravens, we don't really need to touch on it. Just Mahomes was fantastic. The Chiefs look great. No news there. Last thing before we go. Well, 2 things before we go, but last thing. What is your biggest week 1 overreaction?
The Browns are in trouble.
Oh, that was mine.
Is it really?
That was mine too. The Browns are in real trouble, man.
They are. And it's not, we talked about Watson, right? It's the morale of allowing a kickoff return score when you're down 20 points. It's like you're mentally clocked out. And if you can't have that toughness to bear down, keep it close when things get tough. And we touched about Deshaun Watson, not looking like what he used to look like. There might be some serious problems for the Browns, who play in a very good division.
And also, how soon are Browns fans going to be calling for Jameis Winston? Because also, the Jameis Winston bump is going to be real. When Jameis Winston gets announced as the starter,
oh yeah,
I'm betting the Browns.
100%. Fanta put out a little video today of him trashing the Browns after they allowed the kickoff return. You'll have to watch that. But it was
shout out Fanta.
It might happen. It might happen sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say that. Another one, you could go like Caleb. I was hoping you were gonna say Caleb Williams is bad and he's not gonna be a great quarterback. I was hoping you'd go there. The other one I was gonna go with was just that the Panthers are just a horrific team, but we knew that. That's not an overreaction. They suck.
That's only an overreaction to you and Connor.
Yeah, exactly. So, anyhow, last thing, 49ers, Jets tomorrow. Let's talk about it for a couple minutes, and then we'll get out of here. Thoughts on the game Monday night tomorrow?
Yeah, I haven't taken anything. The primetime games get me because they throw all these boosts at you, and it's like, 50% boost. Okay, I'll take whatever side I was leaning. But as of now, we talked about in our previews, I don't think this 49ers defense is going to be the defense of years past. But we've also talked about the Jets, and it's like if one little thing goes wrong, it seems like that locker room could just be completely lost. Especially if, Aaron Rodgers, 41 years old, has a little bit of a tude to him. It's, and that's, you could say that's the right you get to be a vet. But I'm going to say, we'll go Jets. I can't remember the spread, but I'm leaning towards the Jets.
5.5.
Favorite or underdog?
Underdog.
Yeah,
Niners
I'll go Jets then.
Yeah, I think the Niners win tomorrow. I think it's close. I think Niners win by 4. I was gonna go 20. I was gonna go 24-20 Niners. I think it could be a little bit of a gross game, to be honest.
Yeah, it really could. That's totally possible.
Yeah, I'm not too confident because we just don't know with the Jets. This isn't a Jets team we've ever seen before with Aaron Rodgers. We got to see 4 snaps of it. We don't know what this can be, and I'm very excited about that. A couple things to wrap up the show before we go. We can do this on the college football preview too, but if people who are seeing all the Texas stuff, I also want to get this out now. Real quick, I was wrong about NC State. They're a bad football team. They are a very bad football team, and shout out Ricky Lynn, shout out your mom. I did Kamala flip-flop. I shouldn't have.
I have bad news. Bad news. I didn't tell you this today. I forgot to send you the screenshot. She has a nickname for you.
Oh, not Kamala Karter.
That's it right there.
Yeah.
Yep. You're Kamala Karter.
Not good.
Sorry.
It's not good. I mean, what can be unburdened by what has been?
What has been.
Yeah.
What can be unburdened by what has been.
All right. But yeah, so one thing, I deserve flowers for this one, though. Texas, whatever. Texas was just easy. Texas was child's play.
Yeah, next.
That was a child's play take. The real take was Colorado quit on that field after they got blown out by Nebraska. Colorado got blown out.
Shador's leaving 2 minutes into the game. Dylan Raiola didn't get touched, did he? No, Dylan Raiola. Oh my gosh, what a sorry sack of a college football player, dude. You like, where's the we hit that on the head. We talked about Dion not wanting to stay once his kids are gone. They are there to cash an NIL check and get drafted. That's what Shador is there for. And I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt. There is no more benefit of the doubt to be given. He's out of there. He will throw anybody and everybody under the bus to make him look good. And I understand he's talented, but I said on Twitter today, what NFL franchise is going to want that on their team as the leader, as the quarterback?
I don't agree. I don't know. We've seen diva quarterbacks get drafted high all the time. Talent always wins out. And also, everyone knows, and even Shador knows, that's not going to fly in the NFL. You can't walk away 2 minutes left in the game. You can't pull an Antonio Brown. Obviously, you didn't pull a full Antonio Brown, but you can't leave with 2 minutes left in the game. You can't do that kind of stuff. It's not going to fly in the NFL. I think Shador knows that. I think that stuff is because guess what? If your dad's the coach at Colorado, if your dad's the coach, it doesn't matter because you're not getting benched, and you're also so talented at such a crap school for the last 2 decades. It doesn't matter. You're going to play. And the other thing too is, the contrary, where let's say Colorado wins that game, they win in a shootout. Oh my goodness, the media train would have been insane. It would have been, no one would have said a word about Nebraska. Like, okay, Nebraska, they were frauds. They were never actually back. Colorado's the real freaking deal and all this stuff. From the get-go, I know when you watch that game, right when you turned on NBC, that first play Colorado had, you're like, oh, this game's over. I should have live bet Nebraska -6.5 right then and there because you knew from the get-go that offensive line was getting pushed around and Shador was running for his life out there. So I don't like how he threw those guys under the bus, but also that offensive line did play horrifically bad.
Yeah, it wasn't great, but you don't.
But you know what you do? You just say, you know what? You just put out a BS quote and say, you know what? It wasn't, bad day, whatever. And then let the coach talk. Just let the coach talk. But
even Dion said something in his presser about the offensive line, that he wasn't getting any pass protection.
Which is fine coming from the coach.
I don't know.
I don't mind that coming from the coach. If they're that bad, light a fire under them.
Not publicly. Not publicly.
I think when it was that bad, they got embarrassed. They got destroyed on every single play. I mean, those guys were on their backs almost every play like turtles.
I don't know. Maybe that's just difference in coaching philosophy here, Karter, but I'm not buying into that.
Well, I can't wait for Coach Wilkerson.
What can I say? I'll coach speed stacks.
There you go.
There you go.
There you go.
Oh, right, hey, there we go.
Let's see here. Anything else before we wrap up?
Nothing.
I think so.
No, I really don't.
Let's pray for the parlay. When you're listening to this right now, you'll know if the parlay cashed or not. I know a few people have DM'd me on Twitter and texted me individually saying they have rode the parlay. So it's we've got people riding.
Any unique followers, new followers that have said, "Oh, brother, okay." And it all comes down to me. Just made a field goal. Rams 3-0.
Ram 3-0. Okay. All right. We're back. All right. That's it from us. Download the SeatGeek app. Use code KarterKast. $20 off your first purchase. $50 minimum purchase required. Terms and conditions apply. Follow us at Wilkerson A. Dillon, at CarterBA. All of our socials are in the episode description below, at KarterKast on everything. And make sure to hit that subscribe button. Dylan, we are very close to 1,000 on YouTube.
We need 1,000.
We need 1,000. We need to get to 500 on Twitter. Go follow us on Twitter at KarterKast, in the KarterKast YouTube channel. You're probably watching right now. Subscribe. Boom, 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 boom. It's right there. Thank you so much for listening. What a great weekend of football, man. I mean, it was bad. It was really bad, and it was great. A lot crazy roller coaster. Next week will be, next week's the most boring week of football, to be honest. Let's be honest.
I am finally forming takes, though. It's like I got a little snow and I'm starting to form the take ball that I'm ready to throw at whoever comes at me. So I'm excited.
Ready for some week 2, week 3 football. So can't wait. All right, make sure to subscribe. We'll see y'all next time. Bye.